Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be listening to this. This is your boy Sutton Def from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. And this is yet another episode of what I like to call Quiet Storm Sports, a little audio podcast that I will be doing kind of like impromptu whenever I feel like I have something to say, but it's not a Monday or a Thursday where we do episodes and, it's a little bit too long of what I have to say to put it in a short. So that's when I'll be doing these sort of little audio podcasts. I'll record all of them live. So make sure if you're listening to this after the fact, you're not part of the live listeners, make sure you catch it live. Turn on the notifications so you'll be notified whenever I do go live. You can pop in, we can chat. Eventually, I want to make this sort of like a call-in thing where, you guys can kind of call in and I can chop it up with you guys live on the show. Shout out to all 7 people watching so far, listening so far. Love you guys. The Rain Gang in full effect already. Bailey says hashtag replay gang. What's going on, Bailey? I came up here today to talk to you guys about my biggest concerns about our 13-3 Ravens. Now, obviously 13-3, best record in the NFL. We've already locked up the 1 seed, locked up the division. Lamar's locked up MVP. All that's cool. Of course, we know it is not a winning season or a positive season, a successful season, unless you win a Super Bowl. It's really all or nothing. It's really all or nothing. And I think a lot of these teams kind of understand that, which is why you see some teams like kind of punt on certain seasons because they know, like, hey, look, it's all about winning the Super Bowl. We don't want to be mediocre, average at best. We don't want to be toting around a fancy, haven't had a losing record, season since, yada, yada, yada. Kind of throwing a little bit of shade there, but we don't want to be like that. It's either Super Bowl or bust, right? And so we still have 4 games to go. Right, 4 games. We've got week 18. We've got the divisional round. We've got the conference championship game, and hopefully the Super Bowl if everything goes well. My biggest concern is obviously what happens in the playoffs. And the reason why I have such a concern for that at this specific time is because I've been thinking recently about what happened in years past. And trust me, I get it. This team, while not completely different, it's very different from what we saw in years past, 2019, 2020, 2021, so on and so forth. But the landscape and the culture of the league stayed the same. What do I mean by that? So the team is different, right? The Baltimore Ravens is a new Ravens team. It seems like they're on top of the world right now. But what I mean is the way that coaches and teams prepare for playoff games in this league, that hasn't changed. The playoffs is a lot different. A playoff game is a lot different than one of a regular season game. Just the atmosphere, everything that goes into it, right? There's a lot more desperation to win a playoff game. There's a lot more anxiety that goes into the planning and the preparation in that week leading up to that playoff game. The teams are literally willing to pull all of these stops. I know you guys have heard people say before that when you get into the playoffs, that is when the other team is going to take away what you do best, and they will make you play left-handed. They'll make you play left-handed. And, past couple of seasons, we went to the playoffs with Lamar Jackson. That's kind of what happened. I mean, we can point back to all the way back to the 2018 season. I know this is years ago at this point, right? But we saw what happened. I mean, Lamar Jackson comes out, kind of takes the league by storm, goes 6-1 as a starter, and in 2018 when he comes in halfway through the season. And then in the playoffs, first game of the playoffs, what happened? Totally neutralized. Won't get too much into that one. Fast forward a year later, right? I mean, that was the year that Lamar really took the league by storm, 14-2, right? And then we come out in the divisional round, fall flat to the Buffalo Bills. Leaves the game with a concussion. Stifled us, neutralized our offense. There were a couple miscues, things like that. And I'm sorry, that wasn't against the Bills. That was against the Titans. And the next year was against the Bills. My apologies. But yeah, so the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that when you get into the playoffs, teams will make you look pedestrian. Even if you are a team that's been slapping shit around all regular season, by the time those playoffs come, it's going to get a lot tougher. Now, here's the thing. What I think teams are doing, and this is why us being so good right now is kind of to our detriment. Us slapping the 49ers on national television on Christmas and then absolutely just destroying the Miami Dolphins by a huge margin on this past Sunday. Not to mention beating the Jaguars, not to mention beating the Chargers in the weeks prior to that. Teams are looking at us, okay? If not now, more than ever. Now more than ever, teams are looking and paying attention to the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, what do they do? How is this offense different under Todd Monken? And how does he work with Lamar Jackson? How can we stifle that? We are no longer flying under the radar. That's what I'm getting at here, guys. The Ravens are not flying under the radar. I can guarantee you every single team is preparing, especially the AFC teams that are going to the playoffs. Every single team that's going to the playoffs is allocating resources, so manpower, game plans, energy, time, into learning how to stop, into planning how to stop Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense specifically. I can guarantee you the Cleveland Browns are setting time aside. Okay, if we have to play the Ravens, come playoff time, what exactly can we do to stop Lamar Jackson for one game? Because that's the thing about the playoffs. They don't have to, they don't have to just come into the week with their game plan and try to impose their game plan on you and that sort of thing. No, they can make a tailor-made game plan just exactly for you and your personnel and your team, and they will lock in on that. Ain't no looking ahead to the next week, looking back on the last week. No. Playoff games are just different, man. They're just different. And all teams have to do is shut you down for one game. Just 4 quarters. Maybe even 3. That's what I'm saying. The Ravens are not flying under the radar. There's a target on our back. There's a huge target on the back of the Ravens right now because they're doing so well this late in the season. Teams are saying, oh, okay, Ravens, Super Bowl favorites, huh? Guess we need to come up with a whole game plan to stop those guys. That's why it's going to be difficult in the postseason. I don't care who we play in the divisional round, whether it is Cleveland, whether it is Jacksonville, Buffalo. I don't know. I don't care who it is. It's going to be damn tough. I don't think we're going to see big blowout games like we're seeing right now in the regular season. That's what it's looking like right now. There's a huge target on the Ravens' back. We're not flying underneath the radar. But a team like the Bills are flying under the radar right now. Playing some really good football right now. Josh Allen is probably going to be runner-up for MVP, I would say, behind Lamar Jackson, which is very cool to say, by the way. But, yeah, again, guys, there's a huge target on the back of the Ravens, and that's what concerns me right now. They've been playing so well this past month and ever since the bye week. Teams are watching tape and saying, okay, if these are the favorites to beat everybody in the Super Bowl, including our team, we're not going to let that happen. We are going to come up with a scheme, a game plan to stop number 8 and the rest of that offense. That's what's going to happen. Black Daniels in the house, what's going on, says, you can send your best man, you're going to lose your best hitter. That's quite the bar. And you know what I like about this? What I like about this Ravens team right now is that they are locked in, right? Now, me, I'm a little less locked in, right? As a fan, I'm celebrating the Dolphins win. I'm celebrating that Christmas win against the 49ers like it's my last. I am. I'm sorry. I'm a fan. Fan is short for fanatic. That's what I do when we win. But those guys actually on the field, i.e. Lamar Jackson, Roquan Smith, they know job's not finished. They know there's a mission to complete. And that's what really gives me the most comfort right now as a Ravens fan. Because we could be, everybody, the whole team could be head over heels like, oh, yeah, we're special this year and big trust this, big trust that, kind of like back in 2019. And we can kind of lose sight of what's really important here, which is that championship. Regular season accomplishments are great, but guess what? Nobody remembers regular season accomplishments outside of the MVP. Nobody remembers them, right? Nobody really remembers those. So I like what you said, Black Daniels. It really does seem like no matter what you throw at us, we can handle it. And by we, I mean, I don't want to say like just Lamar, because it's not like he's putting the entire team on his back or anything like that. It's a really complete effort. It's a very, very team oriented effort, which I do appreciate from them. Let me see what else you guys are saying. Jeremiah says they are casting a shadow across the landscape like the bad signal of vengeance. Yeah, that's what's going on. That's kind of what we're doing right now. We are showing the world, like, hey, come playoff time, we're going to have to be the team that you worry about the most. And that goes for AFC teams and NFC teams, because we know what Lamar Jackson has done against NFC teams. And they thought he wasn't going to do it against the 49ers, and he did. So the whole league, the entire league is on notice right now about these Baltimore Ravens. And the entire league will come up with their own specific game plan on how they want to approach stopping Lamar Jackson, which is why this playoffs is going to be so interesting, especially for Todd Monken. He's got his work cut out for him, because he's going to have to face so many different game plans, at least 3 different game plans from really high-level coaches, 3 different game plans he's going to have to be able to beat, be able to top. That's hard to do. That's hard to do. Because each team is going to approach it a little bit differently based off of their personnel, based off of their history with the Ravens, things like that. But it's going to be tough, man, because everybody's going to be zeroed in on beating Baltimore. That's what it is. That's the reality. We've kind of made it tougher on ourselves, right? By being this good late in the season. As crazy as that sounds, because I know we just locked up the 1 seed, locked up the division. We've kind of made it harder for ourselves by being this good late in the season. Am I crazy to say that, guys? Let me know. Jeremiah says, what is the plan, Sutton, when they get hit in the mouth? I mean, I think just being aggressive and trying to hit back. I think we saw that in the Dolphins game this past weekend, right? I mean, the Dolphins come out, they score in their first possession, go up 7-0. What does Lamar Jackson do on his first play of his first drive? Goes deep to Rashad Bateman, who got open, just couldn't bring it in. Could have been a little bit of a better throw by Lamar. Could have been a slightly better effort by Bateman, but Lamar came out guns a-blazing trying to punch him back in the mouth. And that's what we actually end up doing on that first drive, scoring another touchdown. It really comes down to the offense. Like I said, Jeremiah, we got punched in the mouth. Now, I did tell Alex that my definition of quote-unquote punched in the mouth is going down 2 possessions early, and we only went down 1 possession. But the fact that they came out on that first possession and scored with relative ease, you could kind of count that as getting punched in the mouth as well. At home, the road team comes down, marches right down the field as soon as the game starts, boom, puts up 7. What are you going to do? Maybe it's not a punch in the mouth, but it's a slap in the face. And we responded. Still yet to see how we respond to being down maybe 2 possessions. That's a little bit different. But we responded. So let's see what else you guys are saying here. Make sure you like the video. Like the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. You're enjoying this content. I'd appreciate that. Me and my co-host, Simply AS10. Let's see. I like that they have played playoff teams. It has to keep them sharp. Sorry, guys. Doing a little bit of driving here at the same time, so forgive me. Has to keep them sharp. No weak teams. They have been in the playoffs mode for 5 weeks. Yeah, it does seem like they're locked in the playoff mode already. And that's why I love what I don't know if you guys saw the quote from Roquan Smith that he dropped on the Vault podcast with Bobby Baltimore and Sarah Ellison. Shout out to them. They're doing big things over there. We've had Bobby on the show a few times. Want to get Sarah on the show. Maybe we'll look into that. Who knows? But yeah, the Ravens have been in playoff mode for a while, and I love what Roquan Smith said. like I was saying, he was saying that, telling Lamar, like, yo, look, I know everything's going great right now, but like we still got work to do. And Lamar already knows this, but Roquan was just reiterating that. It's beautiful to see, because he's also saying, he also said, like, make sure you make sure that the offense is going, I'll make sure the defense is going, and we're going to hold each other accountable. I love that. I love that. A bona fide quarterback on offense and defense. I love that. I think you need that to have a championship caliber team. You need that. Not just a quarterback on offense, but you need a quarterback on defense as well. Get you a Roquan Smith. Telling you. Telling you. They're locked in. They seem sharp right now, but hey man, it's gonna once that divisional round, I just know there's gonna be so many butterflies once that day comes, that Saturday or Sunday, whenever we play the divisional round. It's gonna be crazy. What do y'all think about resting starters? What do y'all think about resting starters going into next week against the Steelers? Game basically doesn't matter, right? Ravens have already locked up the 1 seed, the division. We've talked about that. So how do y'all feel about John Harbaugh not playing the starters next week against Pittsburgh? I'll tell you how I feel about it. I don't mind. I don't mind if Lamar Jackson does not play a single snap. Okay? I don't mind. I don't mind if Roquan Smith doesn't play, if Kyle Hamilton doesn't play, if Odell Beckham Jr. Sits this one out. I don't mind. And, I see everybody saying, like, oh, we don't want what happened in 2019 to repeat itself. But I just don't foresee the whole rust argument. That's more indicative of bad coaching and not having your guys ready to go when the time comes, rather than, oh, we got an extra week of rest, so that actually hurt us. Like, no, this is an 18-week NFL season. Okay, as of 2 years ago, the season got longer than it ever has been before. This extra week is a privilege for a reason. It is a blessing. If we look at it like that, and we use that time to not only heal, but to get mentally ready to go out there on a Saturday night or that Sunday afternoon, whenever it's going to be, whenever that game is going to take place. I mean, we got to do that. We got to get prepared, and it's on John Harbaugh and the rest of that coaching staff to do so. Now, luckily, it seems like this year, our coaching staff is locked in with the players as well. Locked in. I mean, you saw what happened at the end of that Christmas night game. Mike McDonald had the shoulders pumped up. He's looking like a dude on the sideline, just like the guys we were playing for him right out on that field. They love him. They'll run through a brick wall for him. Then you look at the offense. After Todd Monken's offense puts up 40, 50 points, he comes all the way down from the skybox where he's calling the game from, all the way down to the field to congratulate his players while the game is still going on. Doesn't wait until they get into the locker room, none of that. No. Takes his ass all the way downstairs from the skybox to go and be with his players after such a huge, dominating performance. So you see what I'm saying? These players are playing really hard for these coaches right now. And I think these coaches are returning the favor by, putting them in the right places at the right times to succeed. So as long as that same energy can be kept up, which I believe it can, when you're playing for coaches that you really, really believe in and you trust, which I don't think we had that with Greg Roman, and I don't even think we had that with Wink to a certain extent. So, but I think we have it now. I think we have it now, and I think that is going to be what helps us. I think that's going to be what helps us actually do a lot better in the divisional round this go around. Let's see what y'all are saying here in the chat. Stanley depressed all season. We earned that first round bye. We earned it. You're right. For offense, I wouldn't mind Odell, Lamar, and Ronnie sitting out. Yeah. With Ronnie's kind of been in and out all year, right? So we'll see what happens with him. Sup, gang? Check on each other always, says Manuel's College Channel. Absolutely. Hope you guys are enjoying the new year as well. Happy New Year to you all as well. I don't think I got to share that with you guys just yet. Coherent Multimedia says call up 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers. Dress Zeitler, but let him relax. Yeah, I definitely think we should let Kevin Zeitler chill too. I mean, Ben Cleveland had a really good game the other day. Nobody's really talking about that too much, but Ben Cleveland had himself a really good game. I say get him the extra reps just in case anything were to happen in the playoffs to Zeitler. But yeah, definitely let Zeitler rest. I agree with you there. Killer Cam says we barely ran the ball versus the Titans. Yeah, because that was one of those games where we were getting punched in the mouth pretty much all game. So at a certain point, it was just like, okay, we got to do something. We got to make something happen, and that's where you get Lamar Jackson having 500 all-purpose yards in that game, which is crazy. Rest Lamar, Queen, Hamilton, Stanley, and Humphrey. Yeah, I definitely say rest Humphrey as well. The secondary, man, needs some rest. Okay, I say you rest Humphrey, you rest Williams, you rest Hamilton. Shit, I mean, we could see how Brandon Stevens is feeling, right? But if Stevens is not 100% or at least 80%, I say let him rest. I mean, because it just doesn't make, it's not practical at all for our guys to play any of the starters, if you ask me. And now, if we were going into this week 18 still contending for the number 1 seed in the AFC, or still contending for the division title, then yeah, roll the starters out there. But whether or not we win or lose this game, it has no bearing over our playoff seeding, over where the AFC Championship game or the AFC games in the playoffs are going to run through. It has no bearing. So it's just, don't play the guys. Don't risk it. Do not risk it. I mean, we've come so far. We've come all this way just to risk throwing it away on a meaningless game against the Steelers, who are a very physical team, who are going to be having it out for us. Nah, I'm good. Yeah, Lamar can sit. Yeah, Mark can sit. I don't need him to play. All right, let me get someone else. What you guys are saying? We were rusty against the Titans. Yeah, I mean, I think that's on Harbaugh. That's on coaching, if you ask me. That's on coaching. But guess what, though? I think that what I just said 5 minutes ago about Lamar Jackson and Roquan Smith, that those type of attitudes is what's going to keep us from being rusty going into that divisional game. Lamar Jackson being locked in visibly, you can see, like, when he's on the field after big plays, big drives, touchdown possessions, like, he's not celebrating all that much, right? He's not. Roquan Smith walked up to him after the game and said, hey, look, man, job's not done. We've been here before. Job's not finished. We got 4 more games to go. I think that mentality is what's going to keep us from being rusty in the playoffs. I think it's that mentality right there. Earlier, when you said teams are going to have all these plans, how many opponents can survive the Ravens' Mike Tyson style counter punches? Jeremiah, let's hold off on the Mike Tyson, right? Like, let's hold off on the Mike Tyson counter punches, because I don't think we've proven, at least not yet, that we are that team where no matter what, like a Chiefs of old, like a 2019, 2020, 2021 Chiefs team, where did not matter what you did to their defense, Mahomes and them boys are going to come down and score that football. And I mean touchdowns. They was going to make it happen. I don't think we're there just yet. I don't think this is like a surefire, oh, this team needs to go down and get 6. It's no doubt in anybody's mind that they're going to go get it. And I'm not saying I don't have confidence in my team's offense, because I really do. And I don't even feel like we've peaked on offense yet. So since I feel that way, I can't really answer this question here. Like, how can opponents survive our Mike Tyson counter punches? I got to see more of those counter punches. You know what I mean? I got to see more of the counter punches, and they really haven't even been so much of counter punches. We're just coming out and just destroying teams, and that typically doesn't happen in the playoffs. Those games are typically a lot closer, so it'll be interesting to watch how we maneuver. Uh, what am I looking for here? We don't need a Mike Tyson style of fighting this postseason. We need a Floyd Mayweather style. That's what we need. You know, defensive focus, making sure that the other team doesn't score a whole lot. But when our opportunities are there, we're taking them. We need that style. Floyd Mayweather, less Mike Tyson. That's what I'll say on that. Great product. Sutton, can we give a round of applause to the gang checking up on Ravens Capital? Let me see. We did, and we must keep doing good to others. Yeah, I did see that the other day on Instagram. There was a Twitter account. I guess it's called Ravens Capital, ran by a guy who, I guess is struggling with mental health and depression or something like that. Forgive me if I do not know the whole story and I'm leaving some parts out. Please feel free to leave them in the chat. But I saw that, I think it was after the Niners game. He had commented on the Ravens post and said, like, not going to end it all. Like, that Ravens win was like, what he needed type thing, which might seem a little bit superficial to some, but you never know what people are going through and what could help or what could just get them through to that next day. So you got to give people grace. And I love the fact that, you had some of the Ravens players. I know that Ray Lewis had reached out to the guy, and I think Pat Ricard and maybe a few others as well had kind of reached out and said, hey, look, we know you're going through things, but you've got a community, you've got a family here. And again, that speaks volumes to this organization, this franchise as a whole. It really does. The fact that they're willing to do that for, their fan base and just kind of be there for their fan base, like that's huge. That's huge. So yeah, round of applause to the Ravens. Let me see. Emmanuel Asapa says, I want the healthy starters to play like a quarter. Nah, man, I'm good. It's like, what do we really, what is a quarter? What is 15 minutes of football? And let's just say like 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes, splitting up the offense and defensive time. What is that really gonna do for a game that you have to play in 2 weeks anyway? Like, I don't really see what that does. You know what I mean? But that's just me. That's just me. I think you rest the guys. I think you have some tough practices, some tough walkthroughs. But these guys are football players, man. They've been playing their whole entire life. So I just don't see them not being ready or being rusty. Like when we talk about a team is rusty, that just means that they weren't prepared. And if a team's not prepared, to me, that's coaching, right? So I think that, like I said before, I think our coaches of this year under Mike McDonald and Todd Monken, those boys will be ready to play. Those boys will be ready to play. And then under the leadership of a Lamar Jackson and a Roquan Smith, and, Lamar, he doesn't really lead by, what he says in huddles, things like that. Hell, barely even in press conferences, he doesn't really give you too much, but he leads by example. And that's the best type of leadership, if you ask me. He leads by doing. Like, that's it. He lets his pads talk for him and his play. And I respect that. Let's see. Todd had 2 championship teams with a month bye week. Hey, talk about it, Bailey. Jay Prime says, keep in mind the Steelers need to make the playoffs, not the Ravens. Yeah, I mean, they're going to have it out for us, man. Not risking putting Lamar Jackson out there with TJ Watt playing for a playoff chance, a playoff berth. I don't care if we get swept by the Steelers. I don't. It's not about, see, again, it's not about the regular season accomplishments, guys. It's not. It's not. It's about what you do in the postseason. Let's focus our energy on that. Uh, Mathematically, a lot of starters have to play to get 11 guys on the field. Yeah, I'm just saying, like the key guys, like the playmakers, leave them out. Okay, leave them out. Odell Beckham Jr. does not need to play. Okay, Zay Flowers with his foot probably doesn't need to play. Lamar doesn't need to play. Patrick Queen, Roquan, they don't need to play. Todd Monken. MT. You already know they'll be diving. You already know they're gonna be diving at knees. Yeah, man. Who knows what they're gonna be doing? Who knows? But I'm not willing. I don't really want to risk anything bad happening. So again, I am of the school of thought that we rest our starters next week. Last question I want to ask you guys before I get out of here. Joe Flacco of the Cleveland Browns, who we might end up playing in the playoffs. He was formerly known as Playoff Joe. Are we scared of facing Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs? Do we think that that is a bad matchup for the Ravens, with them being a divisional rival, with Flacco playing how he's playing right now, and that connection with him and Amari Cooper looking stellar, and then also his history with playoff success, his history with the Ravens, knowing their tendencies, whatever. Are we scared? Are we afraid of Flacco? I see Bailey says no. Jeremiah says never scared. Yeah, I mean, I'm not scared either. I'm not scared either at all. Bring all the smoke. That's what I'm talking about, Jeremiah. Manuel's Caution says, if we face Joe, I'm sorry to him, but I want the Ravens to bring him down and showcase why Lamar is our QB. Yeah, I mean, I agree. And see, I'm not scared at all. I mean, Joe Flacco, yes, he looks nice. You can just tell he's out there just having fun. You know, he didn't expect to be here 6 months ago. He was on the couch playing with kids, right? And shout out to him for that. But I think he's really just here for the ride. I don't see him being as locked in, not nearly as locked in as this Ravens team, and more importantly, as this Ravens defense. If you think that this Ravens defense is going to let a almost 40-year-old quarterback waltz up in the M&T Bank Stadium, who used to play for the Ravens. This quarterback used to play for the Ravens. So even the coaching staff kind of knows Joe Flacco, his tendencies, what he likes, what he doesn't like, things like that. If you think that Joe Flacco is going to walk in the M&T Bank Stadium and put up 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, a win, and something, no, bro. No, bro. I've seen Joe Flacco time and time again throw games away. I've seen him come back in some games too. But I've seen him make mistakes, and that's the most important thing here. This defense has been damn good all season at forcing the other team to make mistakes. And damn it, I think that does not change if we play the Browns in the postseason. I feel like Flacco throws for at least 2 interceptions. At least. Now, I'm not trying to toot, the Ravens horn here or sound too arrogant or whatever. But listen, man. It's just I can't imagine a world where Joe Flacco comes in and just dominates that defense. People say, "Oh, well, the Jets have a pretty good." The Jets are a broken team. They're a broken team. They are not us. They're not us. Not scared. Says Yolanda B says, I'm a bit nervous about the possibility of playing the Browns, mainly because of their defense. For me, it's just the fact that they're a divisional opponent, so I expect that game to be a little bit lower scoring anyway. And if it does come down to like a couple of late possessions that determine the game, yeah, that would make me a little bit nervous for sure. But with the way this offense has been playing recently, I mean, I got us. I think this is a different offense from the one that you saw in that Steelers loss from earlier this year. Different offense. January Joe, low-key maybe, but we'll see when we get there. Flacco doesn't worry me at all. See, no, we're not scared of. We can knock Flacco over like an old oak tree. I hope so. I mean, lead the league in sacks still. So I mean, as long as we can get after Joe Flacco early in the game, which I believe we can. Right, I believe we can definitely get after Joe Flacco early. That's going to cause him to start throwing up some of these prayers, making some of these mistakes. And listen, we got the best, dare I say, the best safety group in the league. Ball Hawks, Geno Stone, right? Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton. All these guys are not going to let a Joe Flacco off the hook, which is why I say I'm expecting at least 2 picks. I'm expecting at least 2 picks from Joe Flacco if we did play them in the playoffs. Let's see. Joe's been playing the Jets and Texans, backup, no hard teams. Browns defense looks great. Yeah, it's looked great all season, for sure. For sure. Don Royale says Browns have played scrubs the past couple of weeks. Locked in, laser focused, Jeremiah. I know that's right. I know that's right. But again, I want to ask the question before I get out of here. Do you guys agree with me when I say that the biggest concern for the Ravens is that they painted their own target on their own back by playing this well late in the regular season, annihilating the 49ers, annihilating the Dolphins in back-to-back weeks, so the whole world can see that neither the top teams in the AFC nor NFC can mess with the Ravens right now? Does that paint a larger target on the Ravens' back? And will teams allocate more resources into stopping the Ravens for one game than they will uh you know, you guys know what I'm saying. You guys know what I'm saying. Is that going to paint a target on the Ravens' back to where teams are going to try to zero in on them and stop Lamar Jackson for that one game so we get out of the playoffs? Bailey Got Beats drops a super chat donation. I think this might be one of the first super chat donations we've gotten on this show. Wow. Thank you so much, Bailey. I appreciate that. It says, working on something. I hope you and Alex can show support. Of course, bro. Of course. If you follow us on Instagram or if you follow me on Twitter, just, DM it to me. Preferably on Twitter because I'll be on there more. I'm more responsible on there. But yeah, of course, we'll support you. You support us. We appreciate that, man. Thank you for the 5-piece in the chat, making it rain here. Monken versus the Browns defense would be interesting. Yeah, I mean, for the third time this season, we'd see that. That matchup overall would just be, man. I think it would be a tougher game than the Dolphins game, a tougher game than the 49ers game. These divisional opponents are no joke, man. They're no joke. And I like what the Browns got going on right now. But again, at the end of the day, I think it does come down to quarterback play in a game like that. And I'm taking our locked-in, laser-focused MVP Lamar Jackson over, January Joe, quote unquote, which we don't even know if that Joe Flacco even exists anymore because we haven't seen him play a playoff game in years. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there for this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. Again, guys, like the video. Please, 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 please like the video. Subscribe to the channel, too. If you are new and you enjoyed this content, again, I am your host, Sutton Def, from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Shout out to you guys, the Rain Gang. If you're listening to this after the fact, you're part of the hashtag Replay Gang. Again, thank you so much. You do so much for this channel. You don't even understand. Shout out to the Replay Gang. Love you guys. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Thursday. Stay positive, test negative, never forget to call God. Peace out.